My name is Edgar Mannheimer, and this is Kalam, a podcast about the Middle East.
Nowadays, if we want to talk about Palestinian theater, we would say that Palestinian theater is very strong in symbolism, is very strong in raising the political issue, because Palestine is filled with ideas and with material, especially that talks about the occupation and the rights of the people and the right of return and the right of resistance. And so we are marked by our resisting theater and by symbolism.
It's been a while since I did an intro like this. Things have been busy. Lots has been happening in the world, as you, dear listener, know so well. A lot of, let's be frank, bullshit. Trump is president of America, and both the Israeli ambassador to the US as well as the US ambassador to Israel deny the existence of Palestinians and openly call for the annexation of the West Bank. But today we're not talking about all that nonsense. Today we're talking about theater, and specifically the theater of Palestine. My entire life I've been going to the theater. When we were kids, my parents used to take my brother and I to see deeply advanced and existential shows in Stockholm. After one particularly grueling play, I believe it was Jean-Paul Sartre's No Exit, a friend of my mother's asked me and my brother, sort of in, with a degree of sympathy in her voice, she asked us if we enjoyed the show. We sighed and we said that, well, at least it wasn't as awful as Waiting for Godot. Now, I apologize to whoever doesn't get that rather narrow joke, as well as those who do get the reference. But anyway, I grew older and I learned to love the theater. There's something resoundingly special about watching humans perform on stage, spitting and shouting and agonizing and loving. It's one of the more real art forms. It can make you feel things. It's like music. You watch theater and you feel the atoms in your body change. There's truly nothing like it. Theater, if done well, can open up wells of imagination, and hopefully it brings us all one step closer to understanding humanity, the gods, and ourselves. Anyway, back to today's episode of Kalam Podcast. Palestinian theater has been around for thousands of years. Yes, thousands, through the tradition of the storyteller, the Hakawati. In modern times, the Palestinian theater has inevitably served as a liberatory artistic platform. Palestinian theater cannot be separated from the Palestinian struggle more generally. But as today's guest Iman Aoun argues, there's a more universal dimension to Palestinian theater. It can serve not only to liberate Palestine, but all of humanity from the evils of colonialism, oppression, and racism. Iman Aoun and her husband Edward Muallam founded Ashtar Theatre in 1991, riding the wave of the highly inspirational popular First Intifada, an innovative, non-violent, women and grassroots-led revolt against Israeli domination. In today's episode, Iman reflects on the particularities of Palestinian theatre as well as the abyss of our current moment. So now, without further ado, here's Iman Aoun. Hello and welcome to Kalam Podcast, live from Ramallah on the occupied West Bank in Palestine. We're sitting in Sardab's studio, and today we have with us Iman Aoun, who is a co-founder and executive director of the Ashtar Theatre. Welcome, Iman, to Kalam Podcast.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you for having me, and I'm really glad to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Maybe we can start with a kind of background of what is Ashtar Theatre. It's a kind of internationally recognized and renowned theatre company that you and your colleagues started in 91, I believe, kind of on the cusp of the First Intifada. How did it come about?
Well, Edward Muallam and myself we are partners, husband and wife, both
I see.
actors.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So we started Ashtar Theatre in '91, as you said, and the purpose was, at that time in particular, it was the turn of a new era, if you want.
Right. Yeah.
So we were coming out of the First Intifada. The young people were losing their education, the systematic education. There were also some hopes of a change in politics. And we wanted to really give a platform for these young people to utilize their voice, because they were all the time in the streets. And then when things started to fade out, we wanted to give them a new dimension to express themselves.
Right.
We wanted them to look for a role where they would be more active, but also their action should be with strength, with horizon, and with importance of what they would say. So theater provides all of that. Theater can strengthen your inner soul, your ideas, your dynamics, group dynamics, and your vision of the future. And so this is why we decided to create Ashtar Theatre. Of course, Edward and myself, we were theatre makers. We started our work with Hakawati back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And we thought it is time to really start a new chapter, if you want, a chapter that focuses more on the community, not on us as artists, but as the young people who are the next generation. And so since that date, since '91 onward until the moment, our focus has been and continued to be the youth and the future and the investment of the next generation, and everything that we do inside Ashtar, we do it with this perception.
Yeah.
Because we believe that the next generation is the sustainability and the continuity of our resistance, our resilience, and our dream, if you want.
Yeah. This sounds very much like in the tradition and spirit of the First Intifada, and I want to get back to specifically how the theater works also today after so many years. But if you can say something about the name Ashtar, I know your daughter who is with us today is also named Ashtar, and it's also obviously the name of an ancient goddess from the Canaanites and from many different groups and peoples in Mesopotamia all over this kind of region. Who was the goddess Ashtar?
Ashtar is a goddess, is a very strong female figure in the ancient beliefs. She was the goddess of love and fire in the Mesopotamia, as you said, in ancient Iraq, Sumerian and Akkadian.
Yeah.
And also transpassed to the Palestinian Canaanites.
Yeah.
But in Canaan, she became also the goddess of fertility. So love, fire, and fertility, they hold different dichotomies, and so this is why we have chosen that name for a theater that also holds a lot of dichotomies, because to do drama, to do a play, you always have to have certain conflict. You have always to have the passion of the fire. You have always to talk about the love and the war. And this brings us also to how Ashtar Theatre work is trademarked by political theater.
Yeah.
So everything that we present out of our why, our consciousness of our role in raising the awareness, whether inside the country or internationally. And this is why we believe that political theater, not as a didactic theater, but as an engaged theater that would hold a vision and that would be strongly presenting our struggle, and that would really, if you want, penetrate the awareness of those who are unconverted, is an important matter for us.
What would someone ideally be converted to? What is the goal of the awareness?
The awareness is to first of all to say that Palestine is for the Palestinians,
right,
and that we are people filled with culture and filled with love and filled with hope, and we have the right to maintain that, and we have the right to regain our land, and we have a duty also to free our people and to free the world from the international occupation, because we are occupied by the Israelis, but there is an international occupation, and we have seen it now. We have seen it very clearly because we know that no one of us is free, and we've been following that. In the demonstrations, in the talks, in all the solidarity actions that had been
the encampments
happening
in
the campuses of universities, because truly, if we are not straightforward, the world is not straightforward occupied by a regime. We are occupied by economy. We are occupied by mentality. And so we're going into dark zones. We're going into frightening zones. And so our role as people who are trying all the time to be aware of our humanity. We're trying all the time to be part of a human family. We have a duty, not only towards our people, but also towards humanity in general.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a war going on. There's a genocide happening in Gaza. And already in 2010, Ashtar and yourself did the Gaza monologues, which was an international, very, very, very big campaign. Over 50 countries, I believe, were involved in this kind of advocacy. And this was 14 years ago. And today it seems that it's just kind of gotten worse. How are you working today with these kind of, specifically with Gaza?
Well, since 92, we've been training in Gaza. We have our group, our small company that continued to work since 92 until today. In 2010, after the first assault on Gaza, we wanted to raise the voice of our students, our people, on the international stages. We wanted to say that these assaults are happening because they are systematic and because there is a real agenda behind them. And we wanted also to give voice to the young people who had been testifying the war. And so, as you said, yes, we were able to reach out massively. And we even took one of each country to the UN to present these monologues, because our young people were not able to leave Gaza, and they presented to the General Assembly. But unfortunately, things kept going on, and systematically. Every 2 years there was a war. And every 2 years it was even a stronger war. Until a point where in 2018 we lost our theater in Gaza, Al-Mishal Theatre, that was bombarded completely to the ashes. Straight forward to now, October 7, where we wanted to say, or we wanted to tell the world that things did not start with October 7.
Yeah.
So the assault on Gaza had been there for 17 years, every 2 years, as I said. And so the Gaza monologues became a very important tool to talk to the international community, because from 2010 till 2023, 13 years, it's a generation that didn't know about the Gaza monologues. All those who have done the Gaza monologues are now either running theaters or running their life differently. So the new generation did not know. And also those who had performed the Gaza monologues wanted to repeat the experience and show the whole world what they have learned in 2010. And so we were able to reach 62 countries this time.
Wow.
Over 3,000 people presented
the
Gaza monologues. They read them, they played them, they did podcasts, they did films, they did different sorts of usage of the monologues. And one of the strongest reflections that everyone that was able to take part in this call were saying that yes, they knew what is happening in Gaza, but they didn't know that it is as much.
Yeah.
And that is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So people wanted to feel that they are doing an active solidarity, and not only passive solidarity of we are with you, but they wanted to do something that is more helpful.
Yeah.
And so the Gaza monologues were giving them this possibility, let's say.
Yeah.
After the Gaza monologues call that is still running on, we also raised another call asking the people who performed the monologues to write back letters to Gaza. So now people are writing letters to Gaza, to individuals or to the place or to a collective, doesn't matter. But they are really writing poems or verbatims. So it is really very powerful.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a difference in terms of the reception and the awareness from the beginning when it comes to the situation in Gaza compared to 2010? When you're doing the Gaza monologues today and reaching out to different countries in the world?
It is different than before, than 2010, because people are more aware.
Yeah.
Now the genocide is happening as they see it on TV. So many people don't see that because they are complicit. But the majority of the world, they are really aware of what is happening, and therefore that also had increased the number of people who were interested in using the Gaza monologues as a tool.
Yeah. If we backtrack a little bit, if we can one speak about Palestinian theater as a specific genre of theater, or is that a bit too nationalistic or something? But is there such thing as Palestinian theater?
I mean, I would let me put it more like a historic background.
Okay.
Or put it in a historic background.
Sure. Yeah.
The theater in Palestine was known for thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Yes. But the theater, because there were always a storyteller, there were always a shadow theater. There were always the storyteller in terms of the Hakawati, the old Hakawati telling stories. And
what is the Hakawati for people who don't know?
Hakawati is a character that tells stories or reads stories.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it started in the palaces of sultans. And then
as entertainment,
of course, or as the one who really brings into the people the history. Because he's the one who knows the history. He's the one who keeps the history, but he makes it in a way that is easy for the people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So Hakawatis were always there. In the tradition of the Arab world as well, and shadow theater came from China via trade, and it was used also in our region. But the European theater, the classical, either black box or the Italian theater, this is new. Relatively speaking, new.
The kind of commedia dell'arte thing.
Not commedia dell'arte. Commedia dell'arte is more in the streets.
Right.
But the plays that we know, that we go to a theater, we sit and we watch a play. Why do we call it an Italian theater? Because the style of building of the theater itself had been created in Italy.
I see. Okay.
It's the high stage, and then the people are sitting on chairs and watching the play.
Mm-hmm.
But so this had entered with the missionary schools, the friars, and the priests who came from Italy or from France, or even from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So by mid of 18th century.
Okay.
So
19th century, 1800s?
19th century, sorry.
1850s.
1848. I mean, it started the first school, which is the Frere School in Jaffa.
Okay.
And they built a theater there.
Wow.
A European-style theater.
Sure.
And so since then, that sort of theater had been growing. Mm-hmm. And then there is also in the history book about Napoleon, his how do we call it? His colonel, who came and visited Bethlehem. He said that I've seen a play in 36, and that resembles the Nativity. So already played by people, and that was the mentioning of the first play at that in Palestine.
Okay.
So that really follows a European style.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So of course this had continued, and then in 48, and Palestine was really very famous as how to say, a bridge between Egypt and Syria.
Sure. Yeah.
Great Syria.
Yeah.
So all the theater groups and the musicians had to pass by Palestine in order to go to the Greater Syria.
Via Jaffa often.
Jaffa, Akka, and they would come to Jerusalem, of course, and Haifa, go to Haifa as well. So where did we arrive to? In 1948,
right,
with the Nakba, everybody was, dispersed. Like the people were dispersed, and so were the artists, and so everything was broken. There were no continuation of doing theater or of receiving theater from the Arab world, and so the theater had taken a big blow up until the late 50s, where groups started to reform in Jerusalem mainly, and then in Nazareth. But there were, first of all, there were the censorship that were really fighting them back. They didn't want them to speak or to present plays that are nationalistic or plays that are even talking about resistance.
Yeah.
So this had really stigmatized, or this had given a platform to the Palestinian theater makers to start to think of a new wave of doing theater, symbolically presenting the struggle, symbolically presenting the loss of Palestine.
Right.
And so nowadays, if we want to talk about Palestinian theater, we would say that Palestinian theater is very strong in symbolism, is very strong in raising the political issue, because Palestine is filled with ideas and with material, especially that talks about the occupation and the rights of the people and the right of return and the right of resistance. And so we are marked by our resisting theater and by symbolism.
Yeah. So what is the future of Ashtar Theatre, and how is it working under these conditions of occupation?
At the moment, Ashtar is facing a leap, especially because like I, as a person, and Edward, as the founders of Ashtar Theatre, we're phasing out and giving the space and the legacy for the next generation, and we're very happy and proud of that. We have a strong group of young artists, like Emil Saba, who is now the artistic director of Ashtar, who was one of our students, and he graduated from Ashtar because we teach for 4 years, and then Emil went to the US and obtained his MFA in theater, and now he's running the theater. But also we have Sasha, we have Tamer, we have Nursan, we have a group of them, we have Bayan, we have many who are really part of this organization, institution, this vision, because we believe that we have to continue the fire. We have to keep the torch lit, if you want. And also we see them also taking the organization into the next step, where they have learned a lot throughout the years within Ashtar, but also they can cope with the new approach of theater. And we, for example, let me talk about one particular play that we have done last year, or the year before even. It's called 2077, Who Wants to Survive. It is the first play in Palestine that raises a vision about the future, and it talks about the relationship between man and AI.
Okay, wow.
So it is written by Bayan Shbib, one of our colleagues, and played by Emil Saba, the artistic director, and directed by a German friend.
Okay.
And so in cooperation with Bridgeworks. So this is an interesting take. Of course, that was before the war, but we were going towards testing also all sorts of possibilities with theater, because we can also talk about other things that are of concern to the human beings as Palestinians, because we are, as I said before, we share our humanity.
Yeah.
And so our motto at the moment is, how should we save our humanity after this genocide? So this is why we went back to all political action-oriented plays, like the Gaza monologues, like Oranges and Stones, that we are touring with it around the world. We will be. We had been in Portugal and France and in Jordan, and we're going in 2 weeks to UK to perform.
Okay, fantastic.
And the play talks about the loss of Palestine since the Balfour Declaration, which means not in 48, but in 1917 until the moment. And all in no words. A silent play.
Oh, wow. Okay.
48 minutes of no words, but of actions and of images and of like physical theater that tells the whole story without a word.
Wow.
We also have a third play, which is Cosmos in English and Awalim in Arabic, played by Ashtar Muallam and directed by Emil Saba. And it talks about what it means to be living between two cultures.
Yeah.
She's a Jerusalemite living in France, and so she's doing it with a multidisciplinary act. She's a circus artist, but also a theater artist and dancer. So she presents this kind of dialogue, if you want, within her body, and what it means to be living in two cultures according to your body and the reflection of that on your body.
Yeah.
So another play by Bayan Shbib is also a reflection on her life being the daughter of two people who worked with the PLO and returned to Palestine. And she tells the story of the whole saga of the Palestinian diaspora and the idea of return, and when she returned, like what was also the founding of or the discovery, not the founding, but was the discovery of being here with all the ideas that she had nostalgically learned when she was outside, and then when she came back, what did she found, and how she's also looking for the future in such a difficult situation.
Yeah. Iman Aoun, I've taken up far too long of your time, and so thank you so much for coming. I just have a short last question. You seem very confident and hopeful about the next generation of theater makers and actors and producers within Ashtar and Palestinian theater in general. How a lot of people look at the situation in Palestine with kind of a bleak outlook because of the intensifying occupation and the genocide in Gaza. So despite this, why are you so hopeful?
I'm hopeful because I have trust in the next generation. I have strong trust, and I know that without continuous work, without strong vision, without a strategic mission, we cannot reach anywhere. And this is what we have been working in establishing, in creating in the mind of our youth. And that's why I have confidence in them. And I know that they will prevail.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Iman Aoun, for being a guest today on Kalam Podcast. Appreciate that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.